Verisure är på väg till börsen, en både efterlängtad, omtalad och stor notering. Med oss för att diskutera den och utsikterna framåt har vi vd Austin Lally. We'll take this in English. Austin, very nice to have you with us. Very nice to hear that you're listing in Stockholm.
Yeah, we're very excited. This is obviously a big day for the company. We've been on this journey for a long time. You know, we sold our first alarm system in Sweden 35 years ago, actually, and I've been CEO now for more than 11 years. It's been a strong decade of growth. We've tripled our portfolio. We've almost quadrupled our revenues. We've quintupled our profitability over that decade, and we've now got to a point where we think it's the right time to go to public markets.
And that's wonderful. How Swedish are you today? You're headquartered outside of Geneva, if I'm not right. And where do you live?
So I live in Geneva, but I always tell people I spend most of my time traveling around the company footprint. We actually put small leadership group in Geneva really to make the logistics of moving around the footprint of the company easier, but we still have a very strong Swedish presence. It's still one of our largest markets. We regard it as our spiritual home because it's where we started, and we've got a big physical presence in Sweden. You know, we've got our largest R&D center is in Malmö. I probably spent over the years more time in Skåne than I actually spent in Stockholm. We've got a big Swedish operations center, which I visit often in Linköping. And then we've got our Swedish commercial team in Solna. So, you know, although we're now obviously an international company, like we started in Sweden, but we're now in 17 countries. We're about to enter Mexico as country 18. So we're certainly more than a Swedish company now, right? We're an international franchise, high quality franchise, but with very strong Swedish heritage. It's why we chose to come back to the Nasdaq in Stockholm, actually. It was the natural place for us to come to because we've been here before.
And what's your message to Swedish potential stock owners? Why should one invest in Verisure?
I think it's two things. It's track record. So I can show people more than a decade of double-digit growth, of growing profitability, but it's also about the prospects for growth ahead, the growth runway, because there still remains a very big penetration opportunity. If you look at the number of families and small businesses that have a monitored security system in our footprint, it's only 4%. It's very low. That compares to the US at 23%. So although we have a strong growth track record, we become a large company now, successful company, there's so much opportunity ahead. You know, when I talk to some of the young talents who are joining our company and they say, have I missed this golden period of growth? What we say to them is, no, the best is yet to come.
We're speculating a lot about the valuation of the company when the listing is concluded. I understand you can't share very much there, but do you have any thoughts in that area that you could share?
I've always believed that eventually markets decide what companies are worth, right? In the short term, medium term, and long term. So, you know, I'm not going to speculate on valuation. I think that investors themselves, they'll decide based on the inherent qualities of the company. What I'm focused on, first of all, continue to run the company well, continue to grow the company into the future with the same quality that we've done before. I'm also not focused strongly on an IPO price because what matters is where the company goes after that. You know, how the company grows over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 years. I mean, I'm very encouraged actually when I talk to potential investors at the understanding of the business model and also the recognition that there is such a strong penetration opportunity ahead.
You said that the best is still to come, and there's a strong penetrational opportunity ahead. Give me some color. Is that new geographies or new products or price hikes or all of the mentioned?
Well, so I think primarily it's the densification of existing markets. So we continue to build penetration in markets where we've already been present for years, and that's important. There's also certainly, if you look at the densification of existing markets, that's driven strongly by the innovation program, by the marketing investments that we make, and by the strength of the sales force.
That sales force, yeah.
And I would say now international expansion is important. It's part of the algorithm, but it's more of a long-term question. Like when I enter a country, and I do that every 1 to 2 years, we just announced Mexico. It builds up gradually, slowly, with discipline, like over time. When we opened Italy, we opened a branch in Rome, then a second branch and a third and a fourth branch. And it basically took us 10 years to cover the country. So the important role of international expansion is about protecting the long-term growth profile of the company. But in the short and medium term, it's more about densifying existing countries.
We wrote a story here at the website mentioning some complaints that your sales force that you mentioned could be a little bit aggressive sometimes. I don't know if you share that sentiment, if you're aware of that kind of critique, and if you have any thoughts to share on that.
I think we take complaints like that really seriously. I mean, we work very hard on training, on coaching. If, for example, if a salesperson misleads a customer and the customer is unhappy and wants to leave, we actually claw back sales commissions, right? Because it's really important that our customers that come on board understand what they're buying and are happy with it. Now, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? As we say in English. If you actually look at our customer lifetime, it's more than 15 years. The level of attrition that we have is about, across the total company, it's 7.5% approximately. Mm-hmm. We think that's one of the lowest levels that you'll find in any consumer subscription business. And, I don't think that our customers would live with us for such a long time, if they were unhappy with the service that they were receiving and weren't putting it in value. So we actually think that personal one-to-one between the salesperson and the customer, it's actually a big advantage because it means it's a counsel sale, and the customer therefore has a lot more information and understanding about what they're buying.
I was meaning to ask you about the recipe for that pudding, because the churn numbers are indeed impressive. Anything you could share to make me understand how you can keep the churn so low?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is technology, innovation. It's having better solutions, right? We actually think we have superior solutions. And when I talk about our technology program, we invested 150 million euros last year. We've got 1,700 staff in our technology division, engineers, programmers, designers, product managers, the largest contingent I mentioned in Malmo. We're 5 times bigger than the number 2 competitor. We think that gives us a scale advantage. We've got enough scale to be able to fund this innovation program. For smaller competitors, it's more difficult. What this means is that we've got unique solutions. We're not a generic reseller of other people's solutions. So that's one big element. The second element is really focusing on the quality of the customer intake. We try and do a good job on customer service, but the most important part of the attrition topic is the quality of the intake. That means making sure that the customer understands what they're buying before they buy. We also, at the time of installation, on average, we're asking customers to pay between 400 and 450 euros, like for the installation. The reason that we ask for that upfront installation contribution from the customer, it's also to make sure that the customer has personally invested in the decision. And the customer that has personally invested in the decision, is a lot more confident and over time a lot more sticky. And we would actually say that our attrition performance It's one of our most differentiated KPIs.
It's an impressive one for sure. I have a technical question. When you look at the adjusted EBITDA, it's quite a difference compared to the EBIT margin. What goes on in between, and what are you adjusting for? And should I be worried?
No. I mean, I think we'll unpack quite a bit of this more, like when we get to, prospectus. But we obviously have some one-offs, some SDIs from time to time that we have to adjust for.
Could you give me even more detail on that?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to unpack it all, but this will be things like, significant IT implementation programs, for example.
All right.
But yeah.
One more thing. You're raising 3.1 billion euros. What are you going to do with the money?
So it's really, I would say, focus on two topics. The international expansion of the company continues with the acquisition of the market leader in Mexico. So we're going to use some of the proceeds for that. And, the balance will primarily go to paying down debt so that we get the company's leverage to the 3.0 turns guidance that we gave. And the reason for that is, obviously, as a privately owned company, we've operated with higher levels of leverage very comfortably in the past. We've gradually brought that down as we start to approach public markets. We know that we need to have the leverage levels where public investors are going to feel more comfortable so that they will continue to back the company's growth like longer term. We've also guided that in 2026, we'll continue to bring that leverage further down. We've guided to between 2.5 turns and 2.75 turns. We've also signaled that in H2 2026, we expect to pay our first dividend, which again, we've guided to between 30 to 40% of adjusted net earnings. We think that will be well received by investors. And importantly, the move on leverage and the dividend approach, doesn't conflict or get in the way of the 10% recurring revenue guidance that we've given for the long term, right? Or the margin progression. So we think the company's investor story is a nice combination of revenue growth, of margin improvement, and of basically progressive cash returns over time.
Very interesting. I know time is running away, so I'll ask one last question. Germany and Denmark are restricting door-to-door sales. In Sweden, I believe there's some restrictions coming towards phone sales. The general direction seems to be a challenge for you. Any thoughts on those?
I mean, telesales is not our core go-to-market channel, actually. Our main go-to-market channel is what we would call field sales. It's basically advertising that creates demand, that creates traffic either to calling us inbound, right, or to the customer coming onto our website. We're generally not trying to sell on the telephone. Actually, what we want is to create a booking, because we actually want to sell at the customer's home, because we want to do a security survey so that the customer really understands like what she's buying. Now, I will note for Sweden, we read the report from the Swedish Consumer Protection Authority. We understand what they've called out is there are a number of categories or indices where they think extra protection is needed. I think what we believe is that shouldn't turn into a blanket ban on all telesales, which we think would actually have quite negative economic consequences, for Sweden, which I'm sure the economists will model. I mean, I also note that actually Minister Slotner hasn't made any decision. There's actually no government decision here, and we'll obviously stay close to that topic.
Thank you so much for joining us, Austin. Good luck with the IPO, and thank you again for choosing Stockholm. Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything very important? We're out of time, but if you want to squeeze something in, please feel free to.
Yeah, I just think it's long track record behind us of double-digit growth. we're guiding that double-digit growth is going to continue and that we're going to continue to move the margins up and that there's a big penetration opportunity. Those are really the key points. And
we wish you very warm good luck with that. I'll be seeing you more. Thanks for the conversation, and I love that accent.
I look forward to the ongoing dialogue when we come and report our results every quarter. Thank you.
Be in touch. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Det här är en podd från EFN Ekonomikanalen. Ansvarig utgivare är Anders Hägerstrand.